Question 26. After caring for a resident for 4 hours, you are exhausted from hearing her ask to use the bathroom every 15 minutes. You should A. Discuss the behavior with the supervisor. B. Put her to bed with a waterproof bed. C. Ignore the behavior and request. D. Request a different assignment. Answer A. Explanation. If a resident situation is causing frustration, you may not stop giving care. Tell the nurse or supervisor. The resident may have a medical problem, such as a urinary tract infection. Neglect occurs when a resident does not receive the proper level of care they need. Putting residents in unsafe situations is neglect. If she doesn't get proper assistance, she might try to go to the bathroom alone, risking a fall. Both the employee and the facility could be liable for neglect. Question 27. A patient's chart is a legal document. If something is mistakenly written on the chart, the correct action is to A. Use the black or blue marker to cover the mistake completely, then follow with the correct information. Add your name and title, date, and time. B. Get a new chart page and copy everything, including all the correct information in blue or black ink. Write your name and title, date, and time. C. Use correction ink to block out the mistake, then write the correct information over it in blue and black ink. Add your initials, date, and time. D. Draw a single line through the mistake with blue or black ink. Write your initials, date, and time, then write the correct information. Answer D. Explanation. If you make a mistake, follow your facility's policy for correction. Many times a single line through the mistake with date, times, and your initials is acceptable. Never erase, black out, or use correction flute. Question 28. Using the phones in the nursing station for post-nurse calls, except in an emergency, is A. Unacceptable, B. Appropriate, C. Determined by the nurse, D. Allowed once per shift. Answer A. Explanation. Personal phone calls during work hours takes you away from your job. It is also distracting to others. Each facility has policy regarding using phones during work, including personal cell phones. Question 29. It is okay to call a resident by a nickname if A. The nickname is appropriate, B. The resident requests it, C. Everyone else calls them that, D. The family uses that name. Answer B. Explanation. Register is the formality of speech depending on the circumstances. It always applies to how you address someone. For example, you may first address a new client as Mr. Smith until he asks you to call him Bob. Do not assume that because his family calls him Boba that you can too. All languages have register, and usually we know exactly how to switch from formal to informal. Question 30. What are your legal and ethical responsibilities if you have access to medical records? A. To keep all information confidential. B. To share information with anyone who asks. C. To write everything down accurately. D. To only tell your family about a patient. Answer A. Explanation. HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Privacy Act, is the federal law that protects a resident's privacy. This includes documentation, records, and communications. Information can only be shared with those who need it to provide treatment. There are severe penalties for sharing information, even if it is unintentional. Question 31. On Monday, Mrs. Green and her family requested and received a do not resuscitate order from a doctor. While bathing her on Thursday, she stops breathing and dies. Her son is not home. You should A. Call 911 to ask for emergency help. B. Notify the case manager of the death. C. Leave a sympathy note for her son. D. Call a doctor to verify the order. Answer B. Explanation. When a client or the client's power of attorney of healthcare obtains a do not resuscitate order, they do not want any measures taken if their breathing or heart stops. When a DNR order is in place, do not do CPR or call emergency services. Notify your supervisor and provide post-mortem care. Question 32. If your home health client refuses to take the medication, you should A. Remove the medication so the client can save it. B. Sneak the medication into some pudding. C. Notify your supervisor about their refusal. D. Tell them you will get into trouble if they don't cooperate. Answer C. Explanation. Home health clients have the same rights as patients in any other setting, nursing home, hospital, clinic. They may refuse treatment without fear of punishment. You should try to find out why they don't want the medications. Perhaps the reason can be resolved, or there is another issue that they can tell you about. Report their refusal to a supervisor. Do not try to trick or threaten them. Always remove any medication that is not taken. Question 33. A standard of care is a way of ensuring that patients always are cared for by professionals who are everything except A. Fast, B. Safe, C. Trained, D. Competent. Answer A. Explanation. A standard of care is what a reasonable and competent professional with the same level of training would do in the same situation. It means that you should be properly trained for the task your job. If you are not, then you can refuse to do a task until you are trained. This ensures that patients always receive the highest quality of care. Being fast does not always equal being competent. Question 34. After you have visited a home health client, learned some new information about them, and want to talk about it, you should A. Discuss it at lunch with your co-workers. B. Call your supervisor to share the information. C. Call the client's sister and give her an update. D. Discuss it only with your mother. Answer B. Explanation. HIPAA privacy laws strictly protect a client's medical information. Only those who need the information to give care can have access. Discussing the clients with your supervisor is acceptable. HIPAA also gives patients the right to restrict who can have access to their health information, even with family members. It is illegal to discuss clients with anyone not involved in client care. Question 35. A nurse aide forgets to raise the side rails in a bed and a resident is injured from a fall. This is termed as A. Incidental, B. Abuse, C. Accidental, D. Neglect. Answer D. Explanation. Neglect occurs when a resident does not receive the proper level of care they need. It can be intentional or unintentional, but the effect is the same. The resident can be harmed both physically and psychologically. Putting resident in unsafe situations is neglect. Other examples of neglect include poor hygiene or nutrition and leaving residents to try to take care of themselves. Both the employee and the facility are liable for neglect. Question 36. An example of neglect is when a nurse aide A. promptly enters the resident call light, B. reports a reddened area on the resident's back, C. changes a wet resident prior to going on break, D. leaves the resident unattended in the bathtub. Answer D. Explanation. Neglect is considered mistreatment that results from lack of attention or carelessness. Neglect can be physical, emotional, or financial. Leaving a resident unattended in a dangerous situation is an example of physical neglect because basic safety was disregarded. Question 37. The intentional attempt or threat to touch a person's body without the person's consent is A. Assault, B. Slander, C. Defamation, D. Battery. Answer A. Explanation. Assault is an intentional attempt or threat to touch someone without their consent. There does not need to be actual touching. If the person feels afraid of being harmed, assault can be charged, even if there was no possibility of being touched. A simple assault is when no harm is done. It is a misdemeanor. Aggravated assault happens when a child, elderly person, patient, or someone in a protected class is threatened. It is a serious felony charge. Thank you for watching.